Obesity Epidemic. Is urbanization the culprit? Keeping a well-balanced lifestyle and specific diet is important in preventing weight gain. However, in recent decades, there has been a significant increase in weight gain, largely due to reduced physical activity and increased energy consumption. This has resulted in excessive fat accumulation, resulting in epidemic proportions of obese people worldwide, presenting a detrimental risk to health. Once considered a problem in high-income countries, obesity prevalence is also increasing in low and middle-income countries, particularly in urban areas. This graph visually shows age-standardized mean body mass index has been increasing over time across the globe. This visual is very detailed and complicated, but we wanted to drive home the fact that energy storage is a complex network with many factors influencing the contributors to obesity. For the purposes of our presentation, we will focus on urbanization as a contributor to obesity. Urbanization is a result of populations moving from rural areas into city areas. This first began during the Industrial Revolution as people moved into cities to find work as agricultural jobs diminished. As a result, urbanization has greatly influenced the human biological standard of living and has contributed to obesity epidemic in several ways. Urbanization has resulted in greater access to high-caloric foods due to the presence of multinational supermarkets and fast food chains, increased transportation and densely populated neighborhoods, which means less walking or biking as a form of commute, increased exposure to food marketing, which influences our lifestyle choices, and fewer physically demanding jobs, meaning that we live more sedentary lives than ever. We decided to explore the relationship between obesity and urbanization. To measure this, we used body mass index or BMI as a measure of obesity. BMI is calculated by using a person's weight in kilograms divided by the square of height in meters. The weight categories using BMI cutoffs are shown in this figure. It is important to note that measuring obesity by using BMI can be an inaccurate measure of adiposity, since it does not distinguish lean muscle from fat mass. However, on a population level, BMI is a useful tool since it only requires the weight and height of individuals, making it a cheap and easy measure to use in research and clinical practice. This Gapminder graph shows the relationship between urban population and BMI in men only. We have decided to look at men as women have periods of pregnancy which may confound their BMI measure. Urban population, percentage of total, refers to people living in urban areas, and the mean BMI of the male population is calculated as if each country has the same age composition as the world population. From 1980 to 2008, generally there is an upward positive correlation between urban population and BMI. There are some exceptions to this, which we will explore one now. As mentioned previously, there are a few countries that seem to go against the positive trend, one being Papua New Guinea. At a closer look, you can see that at first, Papua New Guinea's BMI is increasing as the population becomes more urbanized. Around the late 1980s, urbanization slowly regresses, yet the BMI of the urban population continues to rise. Why is this the case? In 1988, violence erupted in Papua New Guinea after years of a mining operation in the small island of Bougainville, conducted by Australia under the government of Papua New Guinea. The mining activity had hurt the surrounding environment, and the people of Bougainville received very little profit from the mining activities. The fight to close the mine turned into a fight over self-determination of the people of Bougainville, eventually leading to the Bougainville Civil War between Bougainville residents and the government of Papua New Guinea. As a consequence of the war ending in 1998, tens of thousands of people were displaced and migrated out of cities to begin their new lives. We believe this may explain why urban population size has decreased in the late 1980s to the start of the 21st century. Prior to European contact of the Pacific Islands, Papua New Guinea included, Pacific Islanders had traditional diets that consisted of coconut, fish, and fruits. Their diets had little to no processed or high-caloric foods until food imports first began entering the market. The introduction of imported foods outside of the traditional diet may explain the rise in BMI despite moving out of city areas. Papuans continue to rely on food imports rather than domestically produced or grown food for their major source of nutrition, with the amount of imported foods continuing to rise into the early 2000s. Not all countries, however, have increased their BMI after becoming more urbanized. Japan, for example, has seen an upward steep trend in BMI correlated with upward trend in urbanization. But after the year 2000, the rate of BMI increase has significantly slowed down despite a faster growth in urbanization. One of the attributable causes of this trend is the preservation of the traditional Japanese diet instead of adoption of the Western diet as in the case with other countries. Not all countries with high and steep BMI trends are highly urbanized either, such as Tonga and Samoa, thus suggesting the need to look deeper into what are the components of urbanization causing the rise in BMI. Weight gain and energy balance is a multifactorial and very complex process. One of the potential causes of a worldwide trend in increasing BMI has been correlated with urbanization. As urbanization becomes the more prevalent trend in modern societies, except for countries where urbanization is slowed down by wars or famines, as in Papua New Guinea, does that mean that humans are destined to have an increasing BMI when adapted to this new urban environment? As the trend with Japan suggests, some societies are able to continue with urbanization and slow down the progression of increasing BMI. More studies are needed to evaluate strategies and more direct causes of increasing population weight.